Namaskar. Today I am going to give my lecture, my thought, my views on the topic of some other important revolts, after the revolt of 1857. So many revolts are there. The revolts after 1857 is very important. So many revolts. Several revolts of tribals and peasants took place even after the revolt of 1857. In 1879, the tribals in the Rampa Hills on the coastal region of Andhra revolted against the encroachment of their lands and new forest law. The revolt could be suppressed after a year with the help of the army. The tribal revolted at another place also. One such revolt was of Birsa Munda. The revolt of Birsa Munda. In 1899 to 1900, the Munda revolted the region south of Ranchi under the leadership of Birsa, who was the son of the sharecropper. The Mundas were aggrieved by the encroachment of their land by the merchant and moneylenders coming from the northern plain. These outsiders grasped their lands and imposed forced labor on them. The Mundas filed a legal petition with the government, but no relief was provided to them. Birsa Munda, one among them, claimed to be the messenger of God and promised that he would eliminate all sufferings of Mundas. He was imprisoned for 2 years in 1895. After returning from imprisonment, he instigated the Munda to fight against the British, the landlords, the moneylenders, and the Christian missionaries. The Mundas called him Birsa Bhagwan. Subsequently, the Mundas revolted in 1899. The revolt could be suppressed only after a year. Birsa was captured and imprisoned, where he died afterwards. The only useful result of the revolt was the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act of 1908, which provided some relief to the local inhabitants. The Pavana Revolt in 1870, the early 80s of the peasants of Pavana in the East Bengal organized an agrarian league, held public meeting, withheld payment of revenue to local landlords, and collected funds for litigation. The primary cause of the resentment of peasants was that the local landlord had raised the revenue arbitrary. During the next decade of the movement, no payment of revenue spread. Neighboring districts like Dhaka, Mymensingh, Tripura, Bakarganj, Faridpur, etc., except the case When landlords tried to collect the revenue by force, the movement mostly remained within the legal limits. Its net result was the Tenancy Act of 1885. The Indigo movement. The cultivation of indigo by British on an organized basis goes back to the beginning of the 19th century. The British planters oppressed the peasant in many ways, so that the condition of the cultivators had become worse than that slaves. The Indigo Commission, appointed by the government in 1860, reported that the cultivation of indigo was not voluntary on the part of cultivators. The planters forced the cultivators to plant indigo on their best lands. The cultivator became the indebted to the planters because the poor wages falls according etc. They were obliged to bequeath their debt, their descendants, which virtually reduced them to the position of serfs, and that the system was vicious in theory, injurious in practice, and radically unsound. Besides the planters and their hired, gundas used the dishonor their women folk as well. The oppression of the cultivators by the planters was brought to light several times by the newspaper Hindu Patriot and a drama of Neil Darpan. Yet all these atrocities were continued by the British planters. The government took no notice of the sufferings of the indigo cultivators. Of the contrary, the government passed the law in 1830 which made cultivators liable to the prosecution and penal consequences who broke indigo contracts. The act was repealed in 1835, yet in practice it was enforced. Some individuals took up the cause of the cultivators and gave publicly to the cruelty of the planners. Harish Chandra Mukherjee, the editor of Hindu Patriot, the Shishir Kumar Ghosh, the founder editor of Amrit Bazar Patrika, gave publicity to their cruelties. Their newspaper, while Ram Gopal Ghosh described them in his book. Their efforts provoked sympathy for the cultivators, yet no attempt was made by anyone for safeguarding the interests of the cultivators. However, the cause of cultivators was finally taken up by the Vishnu Charan Viswas and Digambar Viswas of Chaguha village in the district of Nadia. Both served in the plantation as divans but resigned their post when they saw the suffering of the cultivators. They decided to organize a passive resistance against the planters. They made the cultivators of their own village to take the vow of never planting Indian on the Indian. One more village took a similar vow as the repressions took to it. The planners attacked a village and completely destroyed it. They filed a case in the court as well. But the Viswas paid the entire decrease amount fixed by the court, took measures to safeguard women and children, and also to fight back the planner. Their courage brought fruitful result. More and more villagers were attracted towards the movement. Within the 2 years of the war, of the no cultivation of indigo was taken by many cultivators in many districts. Then a conference of representatives to 92 villages were held as Rampur, the instance of Shishir Kumar Ghosh. They took a vow to refuse cultivation of indigo even at the risk of their lives. Within the 2 years, the movement of no cultivation of the indigo spread the several districts. The attempt of the planters check the movement by force failed. Both the rival group sent representations to the government. The government agreed to appoint a commission of the inquiry. The commission submitted its report in August 1870 and they suggested certain remedial measures, but the cultivators refused to work one plantation. It resulted in eliminations of cultivation to indigo in Bengal. The Indian cultivation, however, continued in Bihar for nearly half a century more. The story of Bengal was repeated where two in 1867 to 68. Some remedial measures were then taken. In 1917, Gandhiji had to go to the Champaran. There he led the movement of indigo cultivators. He succeeded to removing some worst evil attached to the indigo plantations. The Deccan revolts. The Deccan riots in Maharashtra occupied primarily because of the oppression of the local money lenders called Sahukars. At the root came of the trouble was heavily assessment land revenue by the government, which had resulted in indebtedness of the cultivators. The Sahukars provided loans to the cultivators on the heavy interest and also cheated from otherwise. It resulted mostly in the appropriation of land of cultivators by Sahukars. Some Sahukars even compelled the debtors present to compromise the honor of their females to get relief from crushing debt. The peasant first revolted in 1874. The village Kardesh was district of Pune. A local Sahukar took possession of the house of respectable villagers on the strength of mortgage decree. The villagers resent in the declared a social land economic boycott of the Marwaris. They refused to do any service for them and threw fifth in their premises. The Marwaris left the village. The story was repeated in several other villages, but it was bound to result in violence. The first violence incident took place in Supa village in the district of Pune on May 12, 1875. The mob looted the shops and houses. Some Gujarati Sahukars He was followed similar incident in many other villages in Pune and Ahmednagar district. Serious disturbance took place nearly 33 villages. These disturbances continued after several months but were finally suppressed with the help of police and the army. Mopla uprising. The Malabar, the cultivators were mostly Muslim, called the Moplas. The population of Moplas has increased by natural process and also become because of large scale voluntary conversion of Hindu untouchables to Islam. Being uneducated and ignored, the Mopla had developed religious fanaticism. Their communal solidarity was strengthened by the leadership provided to them by Sayyid Alvi and his son Sayyid Fedi from 1852 onward. He was further enhanced by historical and economic circumstances. The Mopla disliked the whites since the Portuguese had come to Malabar and attempted forceful conversion to Christianity. So they were suspicious of English as well. However, their primary grievances was economic. In Malabar, mostly the upper caste Hindu were landlords and moneylenders. The Mopla cultivators were in debt to them. The laws of the English government supported the rights of the moneylenders and the landlords. Therefore, the Mopla cultivators suffered economically. They therefore adopted the violent means to get redress and attach the landlords, the moneylenders, and the government official who supported them. Besides the 1836 to 54, they revolted 20 times repeatedly and insurrection several times between the 1882 to 1805 and the 1896, and the disturbance continued casually till 1919. The Mopla, however, could not until themselves under the central organization, and so there was no general insurrection. Their uprising mostly took the form of attack on properties and lives of Hindu landlords and the moneylenders, and discretion of Hindu temples and small bands of Mopla. The number of Mopla activities also remained very small. They functioned as the individual or group terrorists. The Mopla uprising were treated as a Muslim uprising against the Hindu because the Moplas were Muslim and their target were mostly Hindu landlords and moneylenders. Through, in fact, the primary cause of their uprising was economic. Several revolts point to be remembered. Several revolts occurred even after the revolt of 1857. The Mundas revolt in the region south of Ranchi under leadership of Birsa Munda in 1899 to 1900. The Mundas were troubled by the merchants and moneylenders who encroached their land and exploited them many ways. The government did nothing to protect the interests of Mundas. Birsa Munda promised them all relief and instigated them to fight against the government landlords, moneylenders, and missionaries. He was called Birsa Bhagwan by Mundas. He was captured and imprisoned where he died. However, resulted the passing of Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act 1908. The peasant of Pawa in East Bengal organized a movement against the establishment of revenue by local landlords and refused to pay it. The movement of non-payment of revenue spread in many districts. Its result was the Tennessee Act 1885. The indigo cultivators in Bengal suffered miserably because the exploitation of British planter. He was brought to notice by newspaper Hindu Patriot and the drama Neel Darpan. The Indigo Commission in 1860 accepted all the sorts of imprisonment was done to the cultivators, yet the government did nothing to remove it. Some newspaper individual published suffering the indigo cultivators, but with the no useful result. Finally, the cause of cultivators and taken over the Vishnu Charan Biswas and the Digambar Biswas, who advised them not to cultivate indigo at the cost. Within 2 years, 1858 to 60, the movement of no cultivation of indigo was taken up by cultivators in many districts. The attempt of the planters to check the movement by the force failed. That resulted in the elimination of the cultivation of indigo in Bengal, though the continued in Bihar. The Maharashtra revolt of the peasant called the Deccan Riots occurred finally because of the oppressed by the local Marwari Sahukars. The peasant first revolted in 1874 at the village of Kardesh, the Pune districts, when the Sahukar occupied the house of responsible villagers. The villagers declared the socio-economic boycott of the Marwaris, and thus the Marwaris were forced to leave the village. However, the violent revolt occupied the Supa village, where the property of the Marwari was looted. Violent incident occupied in nearly 33 villages in district of Pune at Ahmednagar. The movement could be suppressed with the help of army. In Malabar, the Muslim called the Mopla were mostly cultivation and fanatic in matters of religious, and the landlords and the money lenders were Hindu. Their fanatism was incited by the Said Alvi and his son Said Fedi, also by the certain historical and economic circumstances. The Mopla hated the Hindu money lenders because they owed money to them, and hated the English because their laws suppressed the money lenders. Therefore, there occurred every violent revolt against the landlords and the money lenders, who were mostly Hindus. Therefore, the Mopla rebellion were treated as a communal uprising through the fact their primary cause their economy. The Moplas had no central organization and worked individual isolated groups. There is all movement or failed. Thank you very much.